Well, good morning. It's New Thought Talk, and I'm your host, the Reverend Steve Walling, from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in beautiful downtown Madera. Welcome to the show today. I'm glad to be here, and I hope you are also. So today I want to start off, it's more of a stream of consciousness show today instead of having a specific topic, because there's so much going on. There's so much going on in the world. There's so much going on in our lives. So I thought, we hit a couple of things today, and you can pick them up. And of course, you can always get a hold of me later via email or whatever. You'll get that information at the end of the show. But I'm going to start with back in the day when New Thought, when religious science was first really beginning to roll out, and people were beginning to kind of awaken to what it was that it was teaching, which was radical and revolutionary at the time. Imagine, if you will, a history of a belief system that said that God was some kind of being that was out there somewhere away from us, that we were separate from God, that there was no possibility that we could make a real personal connection. I mean, we could 411 or 911 God through prayer, but that was about it. And of course, then again, we were all subject to various stages of judgment and possible punishment. And along came this belief system. And actually, in truth, it wasn't along came. It was a belief system that had been around for a long time. It just had been at an undercurrent. Most people weren't aware of it, but it was there. It had been taught long before this fellow Jesus walked the face of the earth. It had been taught eons before Judaism became a religion, if you will. And so it's been around a long time, but it was finally kind of put together by a group of people. And at the time, they called it New Thought. They liked to associate it with science because, again, at that time, science was really beginning to become popular in the world. Albert Einstein was coming up with his theory of relativity, and physics was moving from Newtonian physics into something called quantum physics, and there's just a whole lot going on, and people began to realize that there was something that happened on a spiritual basis, on a spiritual level, when we as beings begin to take on a certain consciousness, a certain kind of spiritual approach to our life. And it was totally different. And the thinkers and the suppositions that came about as a result of that, and the deeper studies into ancient teachings, people begin to realize that there is a power and a presence for good in the universe that's available to each one of us. It's available to us not because it's around somewhere, not because it's out there somewhere, but because it is everywhere present, which means as I stand here before you today in front of this camera, and as you sit on the other side of the screen of your computer, between us, there's nothing but this thing we call spirit, God, this presence. It's everywhere. It's infinite. It's ubiquitous, if you will. And as we begin to understand that, people begin to say, well, okay, if God is everywhere present, that means that as I stand here, I must be some part of God expressing as myself. And you must be some part of God expressing as you. To make the mind shift, to move around that to a whole different concept of being separate from, being apart from, not being together with, a unity of one, if you will, with this, what we call God. People began to look at this and this understanding, and they went back to the teachings of this fella that we know as the master teacher, Jesus. And they began to look at what it was that he was saying, and they looked at it in a different light. When he said, I and my Father are one, he wasn't speaking exclusively. He was speaking as an example. When he said, what I can do, you can do also, and that much more, he wasn't being an exception. He was being a teacher, a way-shower. And in many different ways throughout that very short period of his spiritual journey as a teacher, he brought teachings into the world that had been kind of obliquely set aside, if you will, to propound a different type of religion, not a religion of Jesus, but a religion about Jesus, and that came about from people that didn't necessarily even experience him as he walked the face of the earth. I mean, this fellow that we call Paul, who is a prominent writer in the New Testament, never saw Jesus himself. All that he got was through either inspiration or from stories that he heard. and you can make your own choice as to how that came about. But historians began to look at it, and they looked at his writings, and they said, some of those things that are accredited to him in the New Testament, he really didn't write. And as you begin to look at the New Testament, historically, you see that some of the things that are in there under the name of Paul really were in there and included in there because there was a revolution at that time going on in the world. A revolution of where this church that was being created was moving out of the house and into society, and there were women that had been leaders and in leadership positions in the church, and they weren't allowed to be leaders out in society. So things changed, they morphed, and the readings and the writings and the teachings began to change around that. But that was in the early days when we didn't have newspapers, we didn't have recording devices. So as it morphed in, it became a part of the written record, if you will, and it was accepted as truth. And so that evolved over the years. But as people began to look back, as modern teachers were looking back and scholars were looking back, they began to see a difference, a different understanding. And as they did, this thing that we call New Thought began to take form in our world today. And it's a powerful teaching. In truth, it is a teaching that we say is based in Christianity, but it's not Christianity as people know it. It is a teaching that is based in the teachings that Jesus taught, but not necessarily did he create those teachings. And so, as we look into this, we begin to see that there is such a powerful connectedness between each of us as an individualized aspect of the divine presence on the face of the earth with that which we call God or Goddess or whatever name you want to call it. This connectedness is so extremely personal. And yet we go through our day and most people have no idea. They don't understand. They don't see it. They don't feel it. All they see is life coming at them at the speed of life. They lead with their fears. They lead with their worries. They lead with their stresses and anxieties. When in truth, they could settle in to the harmony that God created all of us to live in as we express God in ourselves and in our lives. And this is the beauty and this is the teaching of that which we call New Thought or religious science. So that's kind of my introduction for today. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And one of the things I want to talk about in the early part of what we call the textbook, which is The Science of Mind, written by Ernest Holmes, there's an introductory chapter, and it's entitled How to Use It. And he's talking about how to use this divine principle in our life to create a life, to create good, to create an experience of divineness, if you will, in our, not once in a while, but in our moment-by-moment experience. Imagine that in your life. And he says here, one of the great difficulties in the new order of thought, which was a new order at that time, is that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. As a matter of fact, we only know as much as we can prove by actual demonstration. That which we cannot prove certainly must be, or that which we cannot prove may or may not be true, but that which we can prove certainly must be and is the truth. What's he talking about there? What's he talking about prove and knowing? What's he talking about when he says that which we can prove and that which we can't prove? Have you ever had an experience in your life? Have you ever had a time where you began to desire something in your life experience? You desired it in a good way. You didn't desire it in a way that took something from someone else, but you desired it in such an extent that it was almost as if you already had it. You had created it within your imagination. You had felt it, smelt it, touched it, experienced it, and watched it unfold in your life. And lo and behold, at some point in time, it made itself manifest. Imagine, if you will, that is a practice that you can do consciously, that's something that you can repeat over and over again. Now, it's not just something that you can do and repeat over and over again without becoming a part of the process. But it is something, once you learn the process, that you can begin to repeat and do and use over and over again in life. But the thing is, we come hardwired into this life as a result of evolution with this very powerful mechanism of fear. Fear drives us. Fear is that fight or flight. It is the all overarching kind of a manipulator, a driver, if you will, of our emotions and of our reactions to what goes on in our life. as we become more conscious and begin to live in a consciousness of consciousness, we begin to understand that fear mechanism, as much of a master as it is in our day-to-day life experience, is something that we can overhaul it, we can change it, we can manipulate it, and we can become the master of it instead of allowing it to master and utilize and run our life experience. And how do we do that? We do that by beginning to first recognize that it is. And then we begin to follow certain practices. One of those practices is becoming aware of what's going on in our life and what's going on in our mind in this moment, right here, right now. And there's many books that have been written about it. There's a relatively new book. It's called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And it's just one. There's many New Thought books that you can find, and they all relate back to and refer back to this power of consciousness, of being present in this moment, and in this moment being aware of not just the conscious thoughts that we're experiencing, but the underlying thoughts, if you will, the underlying feelings that we experience all day long. If you've watched this show over a period of time, you've heard me say that we think, they say, somewhere between 30, 60, maybe even 80,000 thoughts a day. And yet most of us, if we were to keep track, maybe we could come up with a couple of hundred. So where are those thoughts happening? Where are they coming from? Where are they going? But more importantly, what are they doing in our life? And those thoughts are thoughts that are kind of at a lower level of consciousness. We call it our subjective or subconscious mind. In truth, it's not really separate. We only have the one mind. But in truth also, it's there and it functions almost as if it's separate. And at that level, there is a trend of thought, a trend of consciousness, a trend of feeling that goes on. We wake up in the morning, and how do we feel when we wake up? When you sit down for breakfast in the morning, if you eat breakfast, how do you feel in that time? As you go to work or you're going to school, what is the feeling? Are you beginning to feel apprehensive, worry? Is there things left over from yesterday? Is the boss not been in a good mood lately? On and on and on. These are the underlying thoughts and feelings that begin to drive us throughout our day. What if we could rewind the clock back to the morning, go back to the very beginning of the day, and when the alarm or whatever it is that wakes us up in the morning, it goes off, and the first thoughts in our mind is a welcoming thought to a wonderful, productive, abundant day of incredible good. Imagine, before you even put your foot down on the floor, you have that feeling of, oh man, I am looking forward to today. It is going to be so fantastic, so wonderful. There is so much good coming my way. I can't hardly wait to get onto it. And as you go down for your breakfast, or you go out for your breakfast, and you have this expectation, and you're driving to your work or your school, and you can't hardly wait to get there because so much good is coming to you, and on and on and on throughout the day. You kind of get the feel for what I'm talking about, I hope. Because there are people that do that. There are people that enjoy that kind of consciousness in their life. Most of us, we get up in the morning and we have our whole list of stuff. That's those of us that live unconsciously. That's those of us that live subject to, a victim, if you will, to life and to that fear mechanism, because that is our driving force. But we don't have to do that. We don't have to live that way, and we don't have to be subject to it. But here's the rub. In order to change, we must change. And people, when they get to that point of deciding that they want change in their life, usually say, okay, I want change in my life. And it lasts about that long. Because the next time something happens, they fall back into their old habits. Those old subjective thoughts take over. Because that fear mechanism, oh boy, is it powerful. And it's there and it's controlling. And the what we call the rational mind and the ego, or the false self and the rational mind, begin to give you all the reasons why today's going to fall apart. Things are going to happen. Problems are going to rise. And I don't know what I'm going to do. And oh my gosh. And there you go. 30, 60, 80,000 thoughts killing us. Moment by moment, breath by breath, sucking the life out of it. I hope I set you up for some good stuff, because we're getting ready to take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to pick it up, and where do we go from here? Talking about change, I'll see you when we come back.
Pasture-grazed, delicious, nutrient-dense, 100% organic raw milk from Organic Pastures. Visit organicpastures.com or call 1-877-RAW-MILK.
I was an addict, an opiate addict.
Be 3 years clean in October.
I was renewed at the Fresno Rescue Mission. My mom, who does a lot of cooking, has been part of the rescue mission, has been willing to help teach people to make jams and jellies and other food.
Sa the Fresno Rescue Mission, do tôi có考虑用贴有一路人家用，这个巴头背巴头个贴，我想到。
And I believe that downtown Fresno needs a renewal as well.
Tree of Life Cafe represents new, healthy growth in downtown Fresno. I've seen men and women go through rehab programs. They want to start a new life. And yet when they get out on the street, they find it very difficult to get a job. Nobody will give them a chance. That's what this cafe is designed to do.
You will be like family to us. We will serve you our home-cooked food made with farm-fresh produce that comes from farmers right here in our valley.
We love downtown Fresno.
Sunshine Natural Health in Tulare, California is your source for nature's best remedies. Call Sunshine Natural Health at 559-688-2063 and get healthy.
If you're considering a reverse mortgage in the Central Valley or just want more information, contact Jerry Carmichael. She's experienced and, more important, she's local. Call 559-903-6903. Call Brian Cossack today at 559-977-1976. Protecting you and those you love financially. Make an appointment today.
At Miracle Realty, we've been providing premier professional residential sales and property management in residential and commercial property for years. We manage single-family homes, condominiums, apartment buildings, commercial buildings, office space, and much more. No matter what experience level you have in property management, Miracle Realty strives to make your experience as stress-free as possible. Serving Madera and the surrounding areas, we use the latest technology and provide top-notch service. We're a trusted and reliable name in residential sales and property management with the experience to answer any questions or complications that might come up. Give us a call today or visit us online for more information.
CentralValleyTalk.com. Welcome back to the show. It's New Thought Talk. I am your host, the Reverend Steve Walling from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in beautiful Madera, California, right in the heart of the Central Valley. Anyway, as we went to break the first segment, we were talking about creating change from being subject to all the terrors and the fears and the anxiety and all the stuff that life brings to us. Oh my gosh, wouldn't we like to just put it away? Wouldn't you like to just put it away? And you can, and that was the point I was talking about before we went to the break. But the thing is, putting it away requires effort on our part. It requires doing something on our part. It requires being something different than what we've been. And so it begins with creating new habit patterns of thought. How we think. Those 30, 60, 80,000 thoughts a day, they're all habitual. They're thoughts that we have thought over and over again, day in, day out. And they're tied to underlying beliefs. They're tied to the fear mechanism that I explained in the last segment. But they're tied by a tie that can be broken. Now, it's not necessarily an easy path to the breaking, but it is a doable path. And it is a path that once someone begins to start down that path and they begin to see certain changes take place in their life, it is a miraculous path that unfolds. But we got to stick with it, we got to practice it, we got to work it, and we've got to start with believing in it. And you say, well, Reverend Steve, how can I believe in something that presently I just can't see, I really can't believe in? Well, I'm going to challenge you at this point. I'm going to challenge you to look at the belief system that you have right now. Because everything that you believe today, everything, bar none, there are no exceptions, everything you believe today, you did not believe at one time. You had to learn to believe the way you believe. If you believe that you are subject to poverty in the world, you had to learn to believe that. Now, it may be that you grew up in a family that really emphasized poverty, or you may have grown up where the surrounding area told you that that's what the world was about. If you believe in unhappiness in the world as an individual experience, as an ongoing basis, you had to learn that at some point, because you did not come into this world knowing that. You came in the world and you began to learn. And what you learned at one time, you can unlearn now. It is a process, and that's what I was talking about. And when I read to you what Ernest Holmes wrote in the Science of Mind book, it is a process that we have to put into practice. And as we put it into practice, when we begin to put it into practice and we begin to see results take place, then we can begin to see that there is something that I can believe in that says this process works. Until that time, don't believe it. I'm going to challenge you. Don't believe it. I'm going to challenge you just to give it a shot. What do you got to lose? If your life is not exactly what it is that you want to be, I'm not selling something for $29.99. You don't have to send in a thing, but I'm telling you that there's something that you can do, and you got to do it, and when you do it on a regular, ongoing basis, you'll see a change. And I challenge you to that change. I challenge you to see that in your life, and as you see it unfold, you'll see a change of your life experience. And I can say this in absolute confidence because I've watched it unfold in my life. I watched it unfold in the life of members of my congregation. I watched it unfold in the lives of the students in the classes that I teach. I've watched it unfold in many other people in many other areas of the world that have embraced the concept that we call religious science or New Thought. And that concept starts with the basic understanding that there is a power and a presence for good in the universe that is everywhere, that is for good. It is a good power and a good presence, and it is everywhere, and it's available to each and every one of us as we open ourselves up and avail ourselves to it. As we open ourselves up to receiving God's good, Spirit's good in our life, we will begin to see it unfold in our life. If we don't, it won't. If we can't believe it, we won't receive it. And in truth, that's what one of the things was that Jesus taught so many years ago. As you believe, it is done unto you. Pray believing, and you'll see it manifest in your life. There was a parable that he told, the parable of the talents, and where he talks about the master going away, and he's got 3 servants, and the first one I think he gives like 10 talents to, and the second one he gives like 5 or 2, and the last one he gives 1 talent to, and he goes off. The master goes off and he does his stuff, and when he comes back he calls his 3 servants before him, and as they come up, the first one says, you know, here you go, here's what you gave me, and I took what you gave me and I invested it, and I doubled the investment. And the master said, well, good servant, you know, I'm proud of you, and on and on. Second servant comes up, and it's the same story, and the master blesses him also. The third servant comes up, and he says, well, I know that you're a fearful master. And isn't that how we look at God sometimes, as a fearful master? Pay close attention. He says, I know that you are a fearful master. And so in my fear and worry to protect your stuff, I secreted it away where it couldn't be stolen. And here it is, and I give you back what you gave to me. And instead of blessing that servant, the master said, you evil person, I gave you this blessing, and I'm paraphrasing, but he says, I gave you this blessing that you could take and do good with. And you failed. You lived in fear. You lived in poverty, consciousness, and worry. And therefore, what you have, I will take. Everything that you've got. Those that have to more will be given. Those that don't have even what they have will be taken from them. And that's kind of a, like I say, it's a paraphrasing, but there is an understanding there. As we hold a consciousness of abundance, as you hold a consciousness of good in your life, as you see the blessings that you have around you today, and you say, well, you know, I don't have a lot of blessings. Yeah, you do. When you begin to stop and realize how much good that you have right now, and you show a true internal feeling of gratitude. Who are you being grateful to? You're being grateful to that divine presence, to the supplier of all good, to the creator of all love. And you hold that within yourself, that attitude of gratitude, as they say. You open yourself up to receive more. But if you look around and all you can see is lack, limitation, and poverty, if you live in fear and you secret away whatever little bit of good you have, and you're not thankful for it, you're not grateful for it, you live in fear, you'll create more to be afraid of. You'll create more to have lack. Creating more lack is really, that's bad stuff. But people do it all the time. and you don't have to do it. Remember, there's a power and a presence for good in the universe that is available to you, and it is everywhere. It surrounds you, it is through you, and it demonstrates and manifests as you. And so, therefore, your connection to your source, if you will, your connection to God, if you will, is not out there. It's within. And the thing is, and this is another thing about what I read, is it's not, we get too much caught up in theory. If you take what I've told you and you go, well, that's great, and you just intellectualize it, and you don't begin to embody it as a beingness in your life, you might as well discard it, because you're not going to make that connection. This isn't something that you just get out of a book and you go, okay, and you've got to embody it. Because it's in that aspect of embodying it that we begin to change that underlying trend of thought that we've had in our life. Nobody wants to go around being unhappy all the time, but most people do. A greater degree of the daytime they spend at a level of unhappiness in varying degrees. Feeling good is oftentimes not measured by how good you feel, but it's measured by how bad you don't feel. Oh, I'm okay. Well, what's okay? If okay is not great, you're shorting yourself. Step into a light that has always been there. Step into a realization that there is a spiritual principle, there is a spiritual power, there's a spiritual presence that will step into you and into your life when you choose to open the door. As I'm teaching this today, these are thoughts that really became popular in the New Thought movement around the turn of the 19th to the 20th century. And people at that time were amazed at this teaching, and they were even more amazed to find out that it had been around for such a long time. Now, from that time to the turn of the 20th to the 21st century, so many of these beliefs found their way into our consciousness and society. You can go to mainstream Christianity today and hear people like Joel Osteen. They will be teaching the same thing that I'm teaching you. They just held it into the bent, the focus of old Christianity. They haven't they haven't stepped out in light. But there's other preachers. There is a fellow by the name of Bishop Carlton Pearson, and you can find him online. You'll find his teachings. He was a powerful Pentecostal preacher. And in his own personal life, in his own personal study, he made the discovery, and he began to realize that the God that he thought he believed in and the God that he really did believe in are two different gods. And there really is only one God, and this is the God that we call love, and the God that demonstrates and manifests in our lives. And he began to change how he taught. And ultimately, he lost his congregation. It was a big mega church. But now, things have changed, and he's experiencing a whole new birth, and he's reaching a lot of the people that used to be closed-minded are coming back to him, and there's a lot more people that are coming to him, coming to get this message, this powerful message of this good and this love and this principle. And there is a principle and a law in life that responds to us. Some of you may be very aware of that which we call the law of attraction. Law of attraction. It's a great way to simplify the law. That which we think about comes about. Now, it's a very simple statement. But again, when we talk about that, what we think about is not just having one or two good thoughts during the day. It's focusing on that underlying trend of thought, that underlying trend of consciousness. If that trend of consciousness is one of welcoming, of availability, of an openness to God's good in our life, we will expect, and we should expect, and we will see that good demonstrate and manifest in our life. There was a teacher many years ago, and his name was Neville. And Neville taught a lot of the same thing. And I really loved his concept. And it's a concept that was actually picked up by a fellow by the name of Reverend Ike. If you've not heard of him, you need to look him up, because he's got some powerful stuff. And he took this and he morphed it into a prosperity teaching in a spiritual way, created a beautiful big church in New York City. But he spoke around the world talking about this good, this idea. So we got to take our next break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about what it was that Neville taught, what it was that Reverend Ike incorporates in his teaching, and how to create prosperity in our life and to address those things that we call problems. I'll see you when we come back.
Rethink your drink with independent Javita member Christine Levin. Call 559-301-5177 and get healthy and wealthy.
Are you a first-time home buyer or investor? Realtor Amy Braun can introduce you to a special program tailored just for you. Call Amy Braun at 960-4155 or visit amyhbraun.com. Need raisins? Call National Raisin Company at 559-834-5981 or online at nationalraisin.com.
I think people think of raw food or healthy food as not having much flavor, and this is so flavorful.
So very nutrient dense, and it feeds my body. I love raw Fresno because I've learned so much about nutrition. It's organic, and it's delicious. It's nutrient dense and very tasty.
So that's alive, probiotics, it's healthy vegetables to get that protein, and it's a game changer. It's awesome.
Come to Raw Fresno just because I love the food, and there's not too many options or any options like this anywhere.
I come back because the food is delicious.
It's definitely a new experience, the different tastes, the salad, it's absolutely delicious.
I love the food because, as I found, this food actually has a lot of flavor. It's all so good, it's hard for me to decide what to eat, so then I'll just take samples of everything.
My husband and I both are addicted to it, and it's like we go through kale withdrawals because it makes us feel better.
It's so healthy, and because it tastes so good. I love the wraps, I love the chocolate cheesecake, and I know everything in it is good for me, and I can eat it and feel good about myself.
The food is so healthy and very tasty.
I would definitely come back to Raw Fresno.
I'm not even the same person, and it's all to this food. It's just amazing. It's transforming.
CentralValleyTalk.com. Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I'm your host, the Reverend Steve Walling from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in Madera, California, in the heart of California's wonderful Central Valley. So anyway, as we went to the break, we were talking about making change, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about a process, but first I want to talk about this fellow named Neville, and then his connection with this fellow by the name of Reverend Ike, and how that can apply to you in your life today. And the thing is, it can apply today. The good news is you can start immediately. And what are we going to start with immediately? We're going to start with changing things in our life by changing things in our mind first. Some people say, change your thinking, change your life. And that's a real nice, easy, simplistic way of remembering it. But let's go a little bit deeper today. Let's take this understanding that, one, yes, thoughts are things, but some thoughts have more power. Some thoughts have more influence on our life than other thoughts. And thoughts that we can focus on and create a deeper belief in. Thoughts that we can get down to that subjective level of mind are powerful thoughts in creating and demonstrating in our life. And this is where Neville had such a great teaching. It was very simple, but it was very powerful. And Neville would give talks, and he'd have 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people would come to hear him speak in the LA area, or sometimes when he was on the road. But the essence, one of the most important things of what he had to share was the power of the imagination. As a matter of fact, Neville felt the imagination was so powerful, he called it the God in you. And I don't know that I would necessarily disagree with that per se. It is definitely a connection that we have with our source, and as we are all God anyway, to say that there's some part of us that's got, maybe it is. So, take it for what it's worth, but use it. And in the using of the imagination, what he taught was a couple of things. First off, he taught thinking from the end. When you want to create something in your life, use the imagination to get to that endpoint in your mind and feel it. Feel that endpoint. If it's a new car or a new job, what does that feel like? If you had that today, what would that experience be? And fill it out. Well, let's take a car because it's an easy thing to wrap our minds around. How does that car smell on the inside? How does it feel when you drive? The certain kind of vibration. When you rub your hands across the seat, what color is it? When you look at it from the outside, how does the light reflect off of it? All these different things create more and more details in our imagination. And in our imagination, then we can create that reality within. And the amazing thing is that when we create that reality within ourselves, there's actually a part of us that can't make the distinction between something that's real, and something that's real within the imagination. And it is that same thing that begins to generate and work on bringing the real, if you will, into your real experience. And that's the power of the imagination. So we take time each day. And you want to find a little meditative spot. You want to affirm you're good. You want to go into your imagination at this level. Use the creative aspects of your imagination. And then particularly in the evening time, just as you're beginning to fall asleep, just as you're right at that twilight state, if you will, bring that imagined picture, that end result into your mind. Seeing it as if it's already there. Seeing it as if it's already a reality in your life. And go to sleep experiencing that reality as already being so. Neville taught that, and over the years, people have used Neville's teachings over and over again, and they've seen wonderful results in their life. Well, what is that exactly? That's you making your connection with an infinite creative source, which we call God. God created all that is. God creates all that will be. And God creates good in your life when you begin to make your connection with God and make that connection in such a way to experience that good into your life. How powerful is that? How wonderful that is. It's amazing. And you can do that. You can do that anytime, but most importantly, do that at the time just before you fall asleep. And this is the teaching that Reverend Ike took from Neville. And he taught it in many different ways. And he used to tell people, you can't lose with the stuff I use. And what did he teach? He taught creating a consciousness, that trend of thinking, on and on, ongoing, always being at a positive level, always being a positive good, experiencing it and seeing it demonstrated in your life. He had people come to him over the years, and he has stories upon stories upon stories of people creating good in their life. And it's a creation that takes place as a co-connection, if you will, with your source, with God, with good, with love. You're not separate from God. You can't do anything without God. But all that you do is God doing it through you. And that is the message and the power of New Thought. And that's what Reverend Ike taught. That's what religious science teaches. And that's what we were talking about. So you want to take these teachings, you want to begin to embody them in your life, and you want to begin to work them out and see them demonstrate. Now, here's the thing. Talking about a car is one thing, but you go, yeah, but Reverend Steve, I got these problems. I'm dealing with these problems. So I've written something down. I'm going to take you through this. This is a great 7-step process to work through problems, okay? So here you go. Number 1, let's make an assumption that it is perfectly logical and acceptable to find a complete and positive solution to whatever it is that you're experiencing. Number 2, let's mentally reframe from calling it a problem to calling it a situation. Our mind, as we begin to address problems, goes to that fear mechanism. And fear takes over. It is a powerful, powerful captain of a ship that you need to let go of. So let's let go of it and change the name from problems to situations. We can deal with situations. We can find solutions to situations, and we don't have to be overcome by situations. Number 3, sit down, take out a piece of paper, and begin to write. I want you to define clearly, in as much detail as possible, that situation in all of its aspects, how it came about, what your feelings are. Really fill it out. What is it exactly that bothers you about it? Create every detail, and then ask, After you get all that done and you think you've really exhausted it, sit for a minute and then ask yourself, what else is there about that situation? And keep on writing until you totally exhausted. I mean, really work it through. Leave no thought stone unturned. And then once you've done that, move on to number 4. And number 4 is, this is where you get into actually the causes. Ask yourself, what are all the possible causes? Okay? Then write down every single reason within yourself, within the situation, within the world around you that you feel or think may have been the causative factor to that problem. Get as detailed as you can. Don't miss a period or a dot on an I or a T to be crossed. And then go back and do it some more. Really exhaust everything that comes to mind. And then 5, at 5, you're going to write again. But this time, you're going to write, what are all the possible solutions to this situation? Write them down. Write as many as you can think of. Even the way out there ones. Even the ones that are so far out that maybe it takes a UFO to come to Earth to do something to help create it. Doesn't make any difference. Allow the mind, allow the imagination to get wild, to experience. Put them all down. And then review them. And review them again. Sit with all of them for a bit. And then make a decision. Amongst all the solutions to that situation, which one resonates, which one feels, which one are you attracted to as the one? And then that's step 6. And then step 7 is to take action. Whatever solution, no matter how far out it is that you've felt yourself attracted to, take action on it. Begin to move forward. It was Emerson who said that, he said, do the thing and you will have the power. Do the thing. Do the thing and you will have the power. Work it. Don't let it go. Don't walk away from it, and definitely don't let fear take over. You know, with Shakespeare, and I love this quote from Macbeth that he wrote. He says, I will take arms against the sea of trouble, and in so doing, I will end them. I will take arms against the sea of trouble, and in so doing, I will end them. How self-empowering is that statement? You know, it's an incredible, incredible affirmation. And it's one that you can use as you go along and you work. One of the things that for me, and it was a poem by a woman by the name of Ella Wheeler Wilcox, that has been a powerful affirmation, if you will, in my life. And it goes, the ship drives east and the ship drives west, the self-same winds that blow. 'Tis the set of the sails and not the gales that tell us which way to go. Like the ships of the seas are the ways of fate as we travel along through life. 'Tis the set of our soul that sets our goal, not the calm or the strife. You separate yourself from that fear master, and you declare your liberation into a life, a powerful life of creating good. You set your sails, and as you trim them, no matter which way the winds of fate are blowing, you can move in whatever direction you want. You don't have to paddle upstream in a life that is carrying you to a greater good. But you do have to recognize that you are in the boat, and that you are paddling, and that the stream is going somewhere. So take those 7 steps, rewind this video, go back, look at it again, write them down, begin to use them, work them over and over in your life. Realize that there's a power and a presence for good in the universe that is available to you. Realize that you are in touch with that power 24/7. Powerful stuff. We're going to take our last break for the show. When we come back, I'm going to talk about some tools that you can use to incorporate a more powerful growth in your life. So we'll see you then.
Need a dentist? Call Dr. David Wright at 559-222-6213 or visit bitemedental.com. Get solar power for your home. Email Dan Siemens at legacypower.com or call 559-312-5011. Rethink your drink with independent Javita member Christine Levin. Call 559-301-5177 and get healthy and wealthy.
For information on author Steve Hammond's Rise of the Penguin saga, visit www.riseofthepenguins.net.
Mike Briggs Properties sells homes in the Tower District and throughout Fresno and the Valley. Did you know we also sell businesses? Why work to build someone else's business when you could build your own? The small businesses we have for sale include restaurants, professional practices, and you can even own your own TV show. This week's featured businesses include an established Pizza by the Slice business in the heart of the Tower District, and also available a laundromat in Van Ness Village. If you are interested in owning a business, call Mike Briggs Properties at 486-6758 and ask for details.
Kissed by the Moon, your cloth, diaper, and natural parenting store. Call 559-231-7101 or visit them online at kissedbythemoon.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Well, welcome back. It's New Thought Talk. I am your host, the Reverend Steve Walling, and we just blow through these shows. It is amazing. I hope what we shared today, what I shared with you today, that you can take those tools and you can apply them in your life, because you really are an incredible power. You have an incredible ability to create what some people call a life divine. You know, unfortunately, society has told people for so many years that they've got to struggle, when God has told them that there is no struggle when you turn to Spirit or God. But learning how to find that path and then incorporate that into our day-to-day life. It is an experience, and it does take effort, and it is something that is available to each and every one of us. And it's something that I really, from the bottom of my heart, I enjoy sharing and teaching with people. And through this particular program, it's amazing. It goes out around the world. You know, when I started this show, my original intention was to do a show for the local community here, and we began to find that we had viewers not only nationally, but we had international viewers, and that was just pretty incredible and pretty wonderful. So we changed the focus of the show over the period of time to reach out and touch those people, but the teaching is still the same, no matter where you are. So as a result, over time, one of the things that's happened is I've written a couple of books, and actually there's a dozen of them, and they're all part of a set, and it is a set that takes you through the year in your spiritual journey as a tool. Oftentimes people use this as a daily meditating, journaling tool. Some people use it as a daily reading. It's however it works for you. I highly recommend, whether you use this or some other book teaching, that you do and you include it in your daily life experience. Why let the day start on a note that is basically self-defeating, when you can wake up in the morning, even when the morning may not, and particularly for people that are first starting out, mornings may be a little tough. Well, you can, by your bedside, or where you go first thing in the morning, you pick up a book, and this happens to be one of the ones that I wrote, but like I say, it can be another, but it's a book that you can pick up, and if you're following it on a daily journaling basis, then you go to that particular date, or like right now, I'm just going to open up to a particular day, and I will read to you something here, and this is a quote, and the quote is, "Some writer has said, every branch of science has, with the clergy, gone through 3 stages. First they say it's absurd, then they say it's against the Bible, and then third they say they always knew it was so." And we see that today with a lot of what New Thought is taught. And he goes on to say, "We have heard vastly more about disturbing faith than about those seeking the truth. A hunger for truth is the first step towards a real religion. And here, when we talk about religion, we're talking about our individualized relationship with the divine. There never was any conflict between truth and truth, but only conflict between truth and error. Carlyle said that a wise man was he who counseled that speculation should have free course and look fearlessly towards all the 32 points of the compass, whatsoever and howsoever it is listed. But someone says scientific investigation disturbs faith. What of it? The disturbance of faith, or more properly speaking, belief, is the first movement towards real progress. What if it brings a revision of all creeds and traditions? What is it to be weighed against if it is the discovery of truth? And I went on to write more about that and stuff, but that particular quote that I wrote addresses the idea of the supposed conflict between science and what we call truth teaching or religion. In reality, there is no conflict. You know, what God created, science can discover. And as we discover through science things that we didn't believe in our religion, we can go back to our religion and begin to see where mythology and superstition may have taken hold rather than seeing a greater truth. So, you know, you go through the day. You've got something like this to start your day. You can pick up this book through Amazon. It's New Thought, Wit, and Wisdom. There's one for each month. I am the author of that, so all you have to do is look up Steve Walling. You can find it there. I think there's also a web page that may be listed on the banner below where you can go there and find it. Like I say, it's a powerful tool. Along with that, there are other powerful tools that you can use, and one of them is it's a link. It's called New Thought Library, and you go there, and there you'll find a whole library, if you will, of New Thought pioneer books, authors. They are out of copyright, so everything that's there is there legally and in integrity. And you can take those and you can read from them, and you can incorporate them in your day-to-day study. It's a very powerful tool. You can use them for meditative concepts. And again, I encourage you to journal after you read those. You get a little bit further and you decide that you want to make a connection with like-minded people, you can go to findacenter.com online, and that will show you a listing. It's a directory, and they try to include every New Thought center around the world. So no matter where you are, you should be able to find the one that's closest to you. And if you find one that's closer that is not listed, you can let them know, and they'll be happy to incorporate it in their directory and their listing. And can't get any better than that. So I think I've covered all the tools. Now I want to talk about something that is also near and dear to my heart, and that is this particular program. We've been doing this program now for, I think, going on 4 years, and it's been a wonderful tool. I've got a great group of people that work with me, and we've been able to share a lot of teaching, and you have been a part of us being able to share that through your gifts and donations and tithes, and it takes energy to create this. It takes monetary energy to sustain it. And so your participation in this, helping us out, you can go to the Spiritual Awareness Center's homepage. There's a link there for making donations. I think there's a link. If it's not here now, there will be a link on this page during the show where you can make a donation. And keep those donations a donation of love and consciousness. I'm not looking to reach out to you and take that which you feel uncomfortable with, but as you feel comfortable with and you get excited about creating and sharing this consciousness, this teaching in a better world, please let that touch your heart and allow you to bring forth a gift that helps to support us as we move forward in our programming so that we can reach more and more people. It's a powerful teaching. It changes the world. It changes lives. And I thank those that have given, and I thank you as you contemplate giving, and I thank you in the receiving of the gift that you do send. So I think we've covered all the bases for today. Been a great show. I've appreciated being here. I hope you've appreciated watching. So as you move on through your week, let the light of God surround you. Let the love of God enfold you. Let the power of God protect you, and the presence of God watch over you. Because truly, wherever you are, God is, and all is well. Don't you forget it. Blessings, my friends. We'll see you when we come back. Thank you.
Rethink your drink with independent Javita member Christine Levin. Call 559-301-5177 and get healthy and wealthy.
Are you a first-time home buyer or investor? Realtor Amy Braun can introduce you to a special program tailored just for you. Call Amy Braun at 960-4155 or visit amyhbraun.com.
Need raisins? Call National Raisin Company at 559-834-5981 or online at nationalraisin.com.
I think people think of raw food or healthy food as not having much flavor, and this is so flavorful.
So very nutrient dense, and it feeds my body. I love raw Fresno because I've learned so much about nutrition. It's organic, and it's delicious. It's nutrient dense and very tasty.
Fruit that's alive, probiotics, it's healthy vegetables to get that protein, and it's a game changer. It's awesome.